Welcome to the Buddha's Boys YouTube channel. It's your boy Stufius, back with another video of Age of Empires 2. Today we don't have the usual format of a post-game commentary of a ranked game. We're gonna have a different kind of video, a different series on this channel. So I decided to start a new series on this channel that's going to run parallel with the Road to 2K ELO series that I'm going with. This new series is going to focus on the competitive side of Age of Empires and the tutorials aimed at beginners. So when it comes to Age of Empires 2, I feel that it's one of those games that's easy to pick up but really hard to master. And the tutorials are one thing, but understanding the game in its entirety is a completely different matter. I see that a lot of people are quite hesitant when it comes to Age of Empires 2 and its competitive side, as most of the people who play the game play single player exclusively, and I feel like they're leaving out a big part of the game to the side. So the competitive side does have its fair share of players, but it seems to be the minority compared to all of the people that play this game, and I would like to do my best to bridge that gap with a series of tutorials. Now, they'll be aimed at beginners, whether they be people who play single player or people who do not play Age of Empires but are perhaps interested in joining our community. The series will revolve around the 4 ages of Age of Empires, so Dark Age, Feudal Age, Castle Age, and Imperial Age. But considering this is the main topic is competitive play, there are certain things that I want to discuss before the actual game. So this particular video, the first video of the series, will focus on 2 things that need to be addressed before you actually play the game, and that's the pre-game settings and the mods. So why is that important? Age of Empires is a pretty game. We have the definitive edition. You have the new skins for the monks, for the monasteries, for the unique castles, architecture for all of the civs. We have a lot of fluff in the game. A lot of fauna and flora is being added every single patch. The game is generally pretty as far as strategy games are concerned. We have fountains with panda or whatever they added last time. So there's a lot of things that are happening on the screen, and not all of them are important. When we're talking about the game from a competitive point of view, you want to see only the important stuff. Your eyes can only process so much of the information that's going on around on the screen, and you want to avoid all the necessary things that are going on. So you don't want to waste your time looking at panda, as cute as they are. They're not going to influence your game. And since we are talking about the competitive side of the game, the point is to become better and to beat your opponent. And the way you're going to do that is by processing information more clearly. You want to see what's happening in the game, the important stuff, and ignore the stuff that's not important and that's not going to impact your game in any meaningful way. And by meaningful here I mean that it's not going to give you a better chance of winning the game. So before we continue, I would just like to lower the volume. So like I said, we have 2 things. Those are the pre-game settings and the mods. Let's discuss the mods firstly. So there are a lot of mods in Age of Empires 2. Some of them are useful, some of them not. Some just enhance the gaming experience. But there are 2 mods that I consider are absolutely necessary. Now there is a caveat to that, which I'll discuss later, but 2 of the mods I think everyone interested in competitive play absolutely needs to have. And that's the small trees mod, or any other equivalent that you find to be good enough, and some kind of a grid mod. So when I say small trees, this is one of those things that's absolutely paramount to this game. The game, in its vanilla state, the trees of the game are life size. They cover a big portion. They're tall and bushy. They cover a big portion of the screen, and you can't really see behind them. Now that's very bad when it comes to wood lines. If you're looking at a big pretty tree, you might not notice the enemy who's sending archers to that wood line to harass or kill your villagers. Now in a competitive setting, you want to give yourself as much advantage as possible, and if the advantage means to get a mod that decreases the size of those trees so you can improve the chances of you spotting the enemy archers who are about to kill your villagers, so you pull the villagers back on time before they die, then I would say that's a good mod. Yes, sure, it makes the game a bit ugly, but it gives you a chance to win. And in a competitive setting, or a better chance to win, in a competitive setting, that's more important than a game looking pretty. Another thing is the grid mod. So the Age of Empires map is divided in grids, or squares, whatever you want to call them. And they're very important because they're quite literally the building blocks of the entire map and every single map. They show where the buildings can be placed and where the units can pass through. Now, here's a common scenario. If you want to build your base, you will eventually need to wall to a wood line. Now, that wood line has the unfortunate situation of where it's located on a hill. It's going to be tough to determine, without the grid mod, it's going to be tough to determine whether the building / wall that you place next to the wood line is actually connected to the wood line, or whether you're going to leave a hole between the last building / wall and the wood line and let the enemy through to harass your villagers, which could be a game-ending maneuver by the enemy. So it's very important. If you have the grid mod, it's gonna quite literally show you little tiles that are free, they don't have a building, and through which units can pass through. And that way it's going to signalize you, hey, you have a hole in your base, you have not completed the wall, and that's going to give you a better opportunity or a better chance of spotting that and finishing up the wall before the enemy actually gets through it. So those two mods are, in my opinion, the most important and the only two that are absolutely necessary. Without these two, I don't think you should try competitive play. That's how important I think they are. As for the other mods, so you can experiment with grid mod and small trees mod. There are a ton on the server. I've tried a few of them. It's basically down to, I just pick whichever one is the most popular based on whichever one has the most downloads. You can see that here, the amount of downloads it has. And generally, the one that has the most downloads is better, and it's the most popular for a reason. But you can still try it. For example, here I have even smaller trees, which I used because it even reduces the height of the trees even more. So the other mods that I use is the useless plant remover. This is one of those that is borderline necessary. I wouldn't call it absolutely necessary, but it's there. So it's going to remove the fluff vegetation that you see on the map that does not act as a tree. So normally, trees in Age of Empires are in a way that you cannot build over a tree. You need to cut the tree down, gather all the wood from the tree, and then you can build on that tile. The so-called useless plants in this game are not like that. They're passable terrain. You can't chop them down, you can't gather wood from them, but you can build buildings over them. Now the problem is some of those plants look very similar to the generic trees and other foliage in the game, and it can trick the player into thinking, oh, okay, that's a wood, particular wood there, or a tree, I should say, I can't build over it, but it's going to be a part of my wall. And then you get surprised when the enemy just goes right through it because it's passable terrain. So that's another one that I would consider almost to the point of being completely necessary. Then we have the rest of the mods are kind of down to just quality of life improvement feature type mods, and a lot of them are down to just personal preference, whether you find them to be useful or not. I would not call them necessary. Most people, I don't think would so as well, but I'm just going to give you the list. Maybe it will give you inspiration as to what is possible with all of these mods, and maybe some of them you can find use for some of them. So the improved extended tooltip, I don't think I ever found use for this. That doesn't mean that the mod is useless, it just means I haven't found use for it, but you can try it. It just gives you an improved tooltip of the civilization's tech tree in-game. The building foundation mod is quite important, relatively important. So when the player builds a building, you usually in the vanilla version, you have to click on the foundation of the building to figure out what the building is for. Now, if you have this mod, it's going to give you like a square on top of the foundation that's going to show you what the building is about. So if it's an archery range, it's going to give you a symbol of an bow and arrow. If it's a stable, it's going to give you a symbol of a horse's head, I believe. So it's a bit easier on the eyes, where you can actually just see what the opponent is going for and react to that, instead of having to click on the foundation and then look what the name of the foundation to know what he is building. It does help a bit. The idle pointer villager mod is one of those. It's less useful than the small trees or grid mod, and there's also a caveat to it as well, as I'll show. But what it does, it's quite useful. So you don't want to have idle villagers in this game. Idle villagers means that they're not collecting resources, and villagers that are not collecting resources are useless. Unemployed villagers are useless. They're sitting ducks, not being paid for anything. The idle villager pointer puts a giant exclamation mark over any villager, any and all villagers that are not working, so that you can address the issue. Either send them to build whatever building, send them on a particular resource, or move them throughout your base. Whatever it is that you decide that you need to do, this will help you signal where you need to put your attention to. So instead of watching those pandas next to a fountain, you'll be tasking villagers and giving them more important stuff to do than just sitting around doing nothing. Other than that, most of the other mods that I use are just some mods that enhance the experience, that are more easy on the eye. So for example, the bigger and eye-catching relic, it's just going to give a huge star over the relic, so you can spot it more easily on the map. Identical pine trees mod, grid mod, is the one I believe Hera uses, and it basically supplants the small trees and the even smaller trees. It makes the trees smaller and identical, hence the identical pine mod name. So it turns the game even more ugly than the small trees mod, but it makes the game look clean. And in a competitive setting, that's what you want. You don't want to look at the pretty trees. You want to see, okay, I know that there are trees there, but I can see behind them because they're small, and it also doesn't divert my attention from more important stuff. Green Arabia minimap it just turns your minimap into fully green. So this can come in handy. For example, if Arabia is not green but actually proper Arabia, i.e. the desert, the minimap will reflect that and be this yellowish, orangish color. The problem with that is that looking on the minimap, you will barely able to see the gold on the minimap. So the gold is indicated also being yellowish, orangish, and if the map is yellowish, orangish, you're gonna have a tough time spotting the actual gold in the minimap. Green Arabia helps you with that because the gold remains yellowish, orangish, while the Arabia minimap turns into green all the time, regardless of what the actual map on the screen is, whether it's actual Green Arabia or the classic and correct Desert Arabia. Improved mangonel shot visibility is similar to the eye-catching relic, where it makes the mangonel shots a bit bigger and a bit more visible. The contrast is different, so you can spot the shot a bit better. Does it help? Perhaps. It's, I think, good enough to pick up and not really think about it. Another one of that variety is the bold fish border. Now, I picked up this mod for unknown reasons because, contrary to popular belief, there's no water in this game. Now, I know there have been tournaments with water play, and apparently there are ships in the game. Someone found them in the code or something. But after playing this game for a couple of years, I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt there's no such thing as water in this game. So this mod is completely useless. I don't know why I even picked it up. There's no point in looking at the fish when there's no fish. There's no water, and there's no fish in the game. The rest of the mods that I have are complete fluff or meme mods for the most part. Let's see if I have any any that are interesting. So the minimum TC orbit mod gives you an orbit in the shape of an egg across the minimap, and it shows you allegedly where the enemy TC can spawn. Yes, this mod is not illegal, but how it used to be in the game is that the game calculates your distance of your TC distance to the edge of the map, and the enemy, according to the old script, can spawn on a different side of the map, of course, but his TC is going to spawn the same exact number of tiles from his edge of the map is your TC. And then the game calculates an oval shape around the map where his TC can spawn. Now this mod does not work anymore. Last year they implemented a patch in which they changed the spawn rate on Arabia so players can spawn with different distances from the edge of the map. And it can be quite a significant distance, at least in my opinion. I tested it with the Vietnamese, where you can see the enemy's TC at the start of the game, and it would not spawn on the line every time. So this mod is kind of not useful anymore, I would say. As for the other mods, two more mods that actually go in the same direction is the eye-catching relic and the mangonel shot are the boar pointer. So it essentially gives you an icon of a pig over a boar so you can spot the boar more easily on the map. Kind of a quality of life improvement. Okay mod. Another one is the bigger chicken mod that essentially just increases the size of chicken that you see. It doesn't change the stats, it doesn't change the behavior or the hitbox, none of that. It just makes the chicken bigger. There's another one for deer as well. It just makes the deer comically big compared to a horse. Kind of funny, but hey, if it helps, it helps. It's not illegal, so, and I don't see a problem with these kind of mods. They just help people with poor eyesight like myself. The boar and the eye-catching relic just gives a symbol similar to the idle villager one. The idle villager gives an exclamation, the boar gives a pig, the eye-catching relic gives a star, and you can see them easily more on the screen. Same for the chicken. Bigger chicken, easier to spot, less time of you going around your base searching for that chicken which is clearly in front of you but you can't see it. So those would be the mods. To recap, the two that are quote-unquote necessary are small trees, or its equivalent like the even smaller trees, or the where's the other one, identical pine trees. You can try them, multiple mods, and see which one fits you. And the second one is the improved grid. Now I did say there's a caveat to them being absolutely necessary, and that is due to the fact that we actually have them in game. The reason I have mods is because I kind of just stuck to the mods because I downloaded them before the game actually implemented them in its own settings, and I kind of prefer the mods to the one that the game gives us. So that would be for the pre-game for the mods. Now we can move to the pre-game settings, as there are things that I would like to discuss there. When it comes to the pre-game settings, the thing that we need to keep in mind is a similar thing to the mods. You want to remove the fluff from the game. So you want to make the game intentionally uglier so you can see more of the game, i.e. the important stuff in the game, so that you don't have to waste time looking around or not having the reaction to react to the important stuff. You want to spend the time thinking about the game, not looking at the pretty pandas. So we'll go one by one. Interface. Let's see if there's any. So just to clarify, the pre-game settings are pretty much one-to-one copy of Hera, Viper, and Dragonstar's videos on the pre-game settings. So yeah, I'm just taking what the pros have done and implementing in my own game. At the end of the day, why fix it if it ain't broke? They're pros for a reason, If it works for them, it's gonna work for us mortals. So let's see. This is useful if you have more than one monitor. Other than that, let's see. And let's see if anything here pops off. So here's the first thing. The grid. The grid thing, you can either do the game one, in-game one, or the mod one. You can test and see which one of them is better. You can adjust the what color they are going to be, the grids on the screen when you're actually playing the game, but you can test and see which one you prefer, whether the mod one or the in-game one. As for the other stuff, here you can basically just copy-paste what I copy-pasted from others, and the rest is of no great importance in my opinion, and nothing that would influence the game to any important degree I would say, except the grid layout. The rest you can basically copy and not worry about it. It's just going to play in the back of the game. It's not going to something you have to actively think about while playing. The graphics follow that pattern of just put everything to low as much as possible so it does not affect your gameplay. Yeah, sure, the game is going to be ugly-ish, but you're going to see more of it, the more important stuff in particular, which is going to help you help you out. The one thing I would do is the zoom out thing. It's going to help you out zoom out in a game and see more of your base, which is good for strategic and tactical play. At the end of the day, this is a strategy game, so having almost top-down view of the game, of your base and of the map, the layout and everything is important. The FPS limit I basically copied from Dragonstar. The rest is pretty either off, like blood, map lightning, shadows, in shadows and fog of war. Yeah, that's something that you should just avoid, turn off as much as possible. Animated fog, yeah, that's the one. All of these are not important because yeah, they make the game look pretty and all that, but they're just going to be a detriment to your overall capabilities as a player. The audio is completely down to subjective opinion. The one thing I would recommend is the sound volume. The actual in-game volume should be higher than the rest, because the important thing in the game is to listen to what's happening in the game. So voices, narrator is not important for single player. Music in the main menu is not important for single player or for competitive player. I should mean the voices of the villagers, soldiers. Yeah, that kind of breaks monotony in games, so it's kind of okay. But the sound is the most important thing. The rest it's basically down to your personal preference. Why do I say that? Because they don't strain the eyes. So all of this goes to your ears, not to your eyes. The important thing is for you to be able to see. Is what you hear is not going to affect you as badly as what you see. So you can pick and choose what you're going to able or disable here and what kind of volume you should go for. As for the game, there are several things that need to be addressed here. Some of them are down to personal preference, others are kind of more universal. So going, you can turn this off, but it's not important. Automatic farm, fish trap. Again with the fish trap, like we went over this, the game doesn't have water nor fish nor ships. I don't know what this is. I guess it's maybe they're gonna implement it one day. Health bar is down to personal preference. If it's always on, it's going to clutter the screen even more. So my suggestion is for default. Yes, always on is objectively better because it gives you actually useful information, but objectively better at the expense of, especially late game, you having held bars of all the units on the screen. It's not a good look. Definitely not a good look. So the default setting is something you should try and see where it goes. Maybe you change it, maybe not, but you see how it goes. Building range indicator. Okay, this is the important. So this will show you the range of buildings. That includes the TC, the town center, things like towers, castles, or any other equivalents to castles. It's going to show them a radius around where they have the range, and it does take into consideration any upgrades that increase the range. This is very important. According to some, it's borderline cheating, but the game allows it, so who am I to say? It'll show you a circle around that building in which that particular building has range. So if you step in the range of that building inside that circle, it's going to shoot you. So it's basically a deterrent for you not to go too close to dangerous buildings, especially early in the game, where you can unnecessarily lose your troops. The thing that's important here is that I would say always show, because it's an advantage and other people use it. If you don't use it, you're at a disadvantage. Player color on object range indicator will just show that range indicator, that circle around the building, and the same color that the player is who constructed that building. Quite useful, especially in team games where you have up to 8 different colors, but in 1v1s it's a bit less useful. Still, you might as well use it. Let's see. Here we go. So in the interface, we had the grid layout. As I said, you can use the in-game one or the mod one, whichever one you test them out, and whichever one you prefer, just use them. Here we have a similar situation to idle pointers. That's the idle villager indicator, the exclamation mark in the mod that I said. You can use the in-game one, and same goes for the small trees. I use the identical pine trees mod that I got from Hera, but you can use the in-game one. So I said that those two things, the grid mod and the small trees mod, are absolutely mandatory with a caveat. The caveat is that technically you don't need mods, you have the in-game version. You should test both and see whichever one you prefer. I stuck to the mods, kind of old school, because they implemented these settings after the mods were introduced, and I just stuck with the mods. But you should just check both of them and use them. The remaining population alert is once you're down to your last 5 population space, it's going to flicker where you have the total population, or the population that you have slash the total available population limit is going to flicker, and it's going to give you a sound notification that you need to build houses so you can increase the potential the population cap. Now, out of this, you can pretty much copy this, and then you come to this. This is a lifesaver. Double clicking on villagers on default will select all of the villages. So you remember you have imagine this scenario, you're having a bustling economy, and you accidentally double click a villager instead of a soldier that was next to the villager, and you click and right click somewhere. All of the economy on the screen, every single villager will go to that point, and fixing that economic mess is a nightmare. So using this, it's going to change from the default setting that it select all villagers to select idle villagers only. So it will only select that one idle villager that you accidentally clicked or meant to click, or as many idle villagers as there are, which should be as close to 0 as humanly possible throughout the entire game, hence the idle pointer villager button, either mod or the setting that the game gives you. But yeah, just set this to only idle villagers. Not once. And then we move to the hotkeys. Now the hotkeys could be a separate video for themselves, but there are 2 things that I would like to discuss when it comes to hotkeys that I feel like are very important. Those are selecting the TC and producing villagers and then I guess there's a third thing, and then it's clicking or checking for idle villagers. So if we go here, the first thing, the most important thing is go to town center. The default is H, but there's another way you can do it, and I'll show you in game as an example, and you can pick and choose which one suits you more. But there are three things to remember. The first thing is go to town center. Is the default is H. I think it's pretty good. H or G seems to be probably the best, based on considering your hands will most likely, your left hand is going to hover around Q, W, E, R, so G or H in this case is fairly close. It's good enough. Of course you can change it to whatever you need. Now this goes in tandem with another hotkey that I would hopefully they'll be able to hopefully find. Give me just a moment. No. Okay, it's here. Select all town centers. Now, the one here, the H1, is just go to town center. The select all town centers is going to select as many town centers as you have, have. So Shift Z is for that. The default, I'm not sure what it is. I changed it to Shift Z. You can change it to either one. Those are the two things that I'll show you the difference in game in just a minute. Another one that's absolutely paramount importance is the go to next idle villager. The default one I think is full stop or comma. I changed it to tab because, as I said, my left hand is going to be hovering around that Q, A, W, E, S area, and tab is right there for my pinky to hit. I think it's a great position where to place it. You can obviously pick and choose where you need it, but essentially I don't want to go into hotkeys in detail, nor can I, in all honesty, but the two hotkeys before the game starts that you absolutely want to have is one of these two. Either go to town center or select all town centers. That's one of those two you absolutely have to have. And the second one that you absolutely have to have is go to next idle villager. So now I'm going to show you in game how that looks. So let's check in-game settings and let's see. I guess we can just use reveal map and see. Let's see if I have any. Okay. Actually, no need to reveal map. Okay, so I want to show you the difference between the two: the select go to town center or select all town centers. Okay, so first of all, the tab one, the select or go to idle villager. As you can see, the mod shows. Actually, I should have used the mod one shows an exclamation around the villagers who are not working. So let's task these two villagers. They no longer have, as soon as we gave them a task, or they're even moving anywhere, regardless of whether they're collecting resources, building anything, doesn't matter, they don't have the exclamation. The one, if you press tab, it's just going to take you to the exclamation, to the villager that's not doing anything. So you're on the other side of the map, you're fighting, whatever, and you see this indication here that you have some villagers that are idle. You press tab, and it's going to take you, it's going to cycle through all of the villagers. If these ones get sent somewhere, we're just going to have this one. So I'm smashing the tab button. As soon as I send them or give them a task, I'm smashing the tab button, but none of them, it's not going to take me anywhere because all of them are working. So now let me show you the difference between the other hotkey that's absolutely important in early game. So let me also show you, let me see if we can gather some other mods in this. So this is how this particular mod renders these trees. So these trees will normally be 2 or 3 times bigger, but now they're not big. So this is the mod for the boar, the indicator. It gives a little pig's head above the boar. The chicken, in this case the rabbits, are bigger than they usually are. And I'm trying to find... Okay, let's discuss the go to town center. So the go to town center button, the default, and my current one is H. So what it's going to do is going to take you to the town center. If you have multiple town centers and you spam H, it's just going to cycle through them. So if the town centers are, let's say, the second town center is in stone, the third town center is gold, and if I press H repeatedly, it's just going to cycle between. It's going to go to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one, in the same manner in which they were constructed. So first, second, third, first, second, third, first, second, third. Now, the difference between that and the other one, which is the Shift Z one, which is select all TCs, is this one. So imagine me fighting. Let's say it's feudal age. I'm sending the scouts, but I know he has some kind of an army at his base. He has some kind of defense. I have to be careful. I have to look at my army as it's going to his base so that I don't fall into a trap, I don't run into a TC or any of that, I don't lose my soldiers. So if I sending an army and I press H, it's gonna take me here. And then I need to go back to the army to see what's going on, and then I press H to train a villager, and I'm no longer looking at the army. That's kind of an inconvenience when you're attacking. A better thing to do, or at least in my opinion a better thing to do, is select all TC button. In that case, for me, that's the Shift Z button. So let's say I'm attacking. So these are the scouts. I'm sending the scouts. I'm trying to find a hole in his base so I can kill some villagers. And I realize, oh wait, my last villager is training. If I don't train another one, I'm going to have idle TC. That's bad. But I also don't want to lose sight of where my army is going. Okay, Shift Z, select all TCs, and as you can see at the bottom, it selected a TC, so I can train a villager. So the difference is this: I'm attacking, and then I press go to town center. Okay, construct villagers, and then I go back. My army is dead. The other way of doing it is that, okay, I'm trying to maneuver my scouts to kill his villager. I realized, okay, my last villager is being trained. I want more villagers. I press Shift Z or select all TCs, and as I'm fighting, I just spam a couple of Qs, the Q button, and it's going to create the villagers without me having to, or without my camera being moved all the way back to my base and me losing track of where my scout army is. This way I can keep an eye on my army scout and create villages back at home without switching where the camera position is. So that's the difference between go back to the TC or select all town centers. When it comes to the pre-game settings and the mods, that would be it. That's what I wanted to show in this video. In the next video, whenever it comes out, I'll be going over Dark Age. It's going to be for beginners, anyone interested in competitive Age of Empires 2 play, but we'll see. So this was pre-game settings and mods. Next video is going to be dedicated to the first age of Age of Empires, that is the Dark Age, and everything that I deem important enough for that age will be discussed there. Until next time, goodbye and thank you.